it may not be the most powerful exotic, the NSX's trim 3,000-pound curb weight makes the most of the power it has got, with 0 to 60 runs of less than 6 seconds as proof. Forgiving and predictable are words that come to mind, with the driver needing to do something really foolish to get this car to spin. The steering feedback is so immediate and precise, it almost feels as if you're holding a tie rod in each hand. Powerful anti-lock brakes give the NSX the most stopping power of the bunch. Honda shook the automotive world by its lapels in 1991 with the introduction of the NSX, a 168-mile-per-hour exotic with an all-aluminum unit body and a 270-horsepower mid-mounted V6. Not only was it quick, agile, and forgiving to the inexperienced driver, the NSX established a new level of refinement for exotic cars. It's easy to get in and out of, it's quiet at cruise, its trunk will hold 2 golf bags, and its outward vision is superb for a mid-engine car. Honda, already famous as the world's biggest and most successful motorcycle manufacturer, displayed its first road car at the 1962 Tokyo Auto Show, a small roadster with an air-cooled 4-cylinder engine. At about the same time, Honda's Formula One effort was hitting full stride. It peaked when Richie Ginther drove the shrieking V12 Honda Formula One car to victory in the 1965 Mexican Grand Prix. This was just a taste of things to come, as Honda's competition record in Formula One during the late 80s was unmatched. Their technical leadership in the design of both V10 and V12 engines earned them numerous victories and a reputation for building some of the most advanced racing machinery to date. It was a logical next step to enter the exotic car market by playing off its strong reputation in Formula One. In preparing to build the NSX, Honda constructed one of the most technologically advanced manufacturing facilities in the world in Tochigi, Japan. In 1991, this plant started building the NSX, the world's first series-produced sports car with an all-aluminum frame and body. Honda ekes 270 horsepower out of its 4-cam 3-liter V6, using such pricey metals as aluminum and titanium, and its ingenious VTEC system, which employs 2 distinct camshaft lobe profiles to get both a smooth idle and excellent power at high RPM. The result allows this V6 to pull melodiously to 8,000 RPM, making smooth power without the vibration and commotion you'd associate with some cars in its class. With the exception of a steel crossbeam that supports the steering column, the NSX's structure is composed entirely of aluminum extrusions, stampings, and castings. Defeat the standard traction control, and the Supra will take you to 60 miles per hour in a torrid 5 seconds flat, helped by a slick shifting 6-speed with throws as short as a Formula Ford's. Tremendous grip and extremely predictable handling manners make it easy to extract the most from this chassis, putting it near the top of the group for overall handling and control. But be careful when exiting tight corners. The tail can and will come out under power. From its enormous front air intakes to the clusters of tiny taillights under a towering F40 style wing, Toyota's Supra is a powerful styling statement. It also has muscle beneath its hood to match those looks. A 3-liter twin-turbo inline-6 engine makes 320 horsepower, which ties it with the Mitsubishi 3000 GT VR4 for the most powerful Japanese production sports car made. The Supra's chassis employs no special gimmicks, just the basics for world-class handling. Like all the Supras before it, this version uses an inline-6 with a cast-iron block and aluminum head. The twin camshafts, sequential twin turbos, and a jumbo-sized intercooler help bolster output to 320 horsepower. Despite weight-saving efforts such as hollow fiber carpeting, dished head bolts, and a glass sphere-filled rear wing, the Supra's no bantamweight. Our scales show a healthy 3,450 pounds. The origin of the Supra dates back to 1971, when Toyota introduced the Celica as an economical four-cylinder sports coupe. It was 8 years later that Toyota decided to create a new, more powerful version of the Celica, outfitted with a 2.6-liter inline-six power plant derived from the Cressida's engine. The new model, called the Supra, enabled Toyota to better compete with other popular economy-minded sports cars such as the Mazda RX-7 and Nissan 280ZX. The Supra underwent rather conservative body style and mechanical changes through its next two generations. But in 1993, Toyota unveiled a radical redesign. The new Supra Turbo's performance capabilities put it at the top of the pack of Japanese production sports cars, and squarely in contention with Europe and America's best. With 59% of its 3,065 pounds borne by the rear wheels, the 911's tail can still be made to step out by lifting off the throttle or braking under considerable side loading. However, this tendency is much more benign with its improved rear suspension. Where this rear weight bias helps out tremendously is in the 911's fantastically powerful braking, effected through huge vented and cross-drilled rotors clamped by racing-bred ABS-assisted calipers. Overall, this car has a great feeling of precision and finesse. Few designs have been as long-lived as the Porsche 911, or as successfully updated. Its instantly recognizable silhouette has been around for more than 30 years, but with each revision, this rear-engined, air-cooled, flat-six-powered sports car from Zuffenhausen has been made to corner more aggressively, accelerate harder, stop shorter, and through detail refinement, look better. To many of its followers, the 911 is considered to be the only real Porsche. The 911's air-cooled flat-six engine has always been its most intriguing feature, with its belt-driven cooling fan and a crankcase to which bolts 6 individual cylinders and heads. To make the best use of its 270 horsepower, the engine is mated to a 6-speed transaxle, a Porsche production first. Also of note is the new aluminum multi-link rear suspension that replaces the less forgiving semi-trailing arms that the car has had since its inception. As Ferdinand Porsche was commissioned to design the Volkswagen Beetle well before World War II, it's not surprising that the original Porsche 911 showed aspects of its design, from its rear-mounted air-cooled engine to its torsion bar springs. Making its production debut in 1964, the 911 had a 2-liter flat-six power plant that was essentially a scaled-down version of the 1962 Formula One flat-8 engine. It wasn't until almost a decade later that Porsche introduced its Carrera, an appellation that signified its most powerful model that originated from the grueling Mexican Carrera Panamericana road race. This model became the first Porsche road car whose rear tires were wider than the fronts, and which had a rear spoiler to increase downforce. Although the styling changes to the 911's shape over the years have been subtle, each mechanical revision has improved on its superb performance capabilities, preserving its status as one of the most prestigious sports cars of the last 3 decades. Carrying 200 pounds more than a standard Corvette and wearing wider tires, the ZR1 is a little less nimble, but more than makes up for this in sheer power and speed. The ZR1 attained an honest 178 miles per hour in our latest road and track top speed test, which places it a solid 3rd in this group of sports cars. Drag strip launches are uneventful and easily repeatable, making it child's play to get 0 to 60 clockings in the 5-second range all day long. And the big V8's power band is so broad that you seldom have to worry about being in the wrong gear. Long heralded as America's sports car, the ZR1 is the most powerful production Corvette ever made, foregoing the standard pushrod V8 for one with 4 cams, 32 valves, and 405 horsepower. The ZR1's LT5 engine is a multinational effort, with engineering assistance supplied by England's Lotus and assembly carried out by Mercury Marine in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Final assembly of the entire car is performed where Corvettes have long been built, in Bowling Green, Kentucky. The Corvette's structure is unusual, with fiberglass panels that are bonded to a skeletal steel frame. This structure exhibits some flex, which takes away from the feel of precision, but tires, brakes, and suspension geometry are all so good that this is more of a subjective demerit than anything else. The ZR1 6-speed transmission has an extremely tall top gear for relaxed cruising, and cockpit adjustable suspension damping makes those longer journeys more comfortable. Chevrolet introduced the Corvette in 1953 as the all-American answer to the very popular British roadsters of that era. Named after a sleek and fast Canadian submarine chaser of World War II, the first Corvette was fitted with a fiberglass body and the Blue Flame pushrod inline-6 engine. Although the fiberglass body and front-engine rear-drive configuration have become integral components of the Corvette's design, the body shape, engine, and chassis have seen much change over the last 40 years. In 1990, Chevrolet launched the ZR1 project with a mandate to build a supercar that would compete with Ferrari, Porsche, and other European sports cars. Though the last of the 6,938 ZR1s rolled off the production line on April 28, 1995, the ZR1 remains one of the fastest and most powerful production cars in the world. With its short wheelbase and an impressive 450 pound-feet of torque, the Viper can feel twitchy when exiting low-speed corners if you're not smooth on the throttle. But its handling in general is fantastic and has the most direct race car-like feel of the bunch, with 0.96 G of lateral grip, just a touch of understeer in a steady-state condition, and virtually no body roll. With a 0 to 60 time of 4.8 seconds, the Viper's straight-line performance so overpowers the senses that its excellent handling can be overlooked. Whisked from car show sweetheart to production vehicle in just 3 years, the Viper has put Chrysler back on the supercar map in bold block lettering. The approach is brute force rather than finesse, as the Viper is really a car built around its engine, a thundering 400 horsepower 8-liter pushrod V10. Pampering its driver is not part of the equation. The Viper has side curtains instead of roll-up windows, a rudimentary fabric top, and just the basic controls and gauges. By far the largest production car engine sold in the U.S. today, the Viper's 8-liter all-aluminum V10 shares the architecture of Chrysler's small block 360 cubic inch V8, but with 2 more cylinders grafted on. Its exhaust exits through side pipes incorporated into the rocker panels. The Viper's construction follows race car practice, with a square-section tubular steel frame, tubular double wishbone suspension with coil-over shocks and plastic bodywork. Although claimed by some to be Chrysler's first true 2-seat sports car, the Viper is based on the history of sports car designs dating back over 40 years. The first of these was the 1952 Chrysler Hemi-powered Cunningham C2R sports racer, which despite its limited production run, has been cited as the grandfather of the Viper. Perhaps the greatest inspiration came from the legendary Shelby Cobra of the 60s, whose success was based on a formula developed by its creator, Carroll Shelby. He took British-built AC roadsters and bolted in massive 289 and 427 cubic inch V8s. In 1991, only 2 years after starting development, Carroll Shelby drove the Viper as the official pace car of the Indy 500. 1 year later, the Viper was rolling off the production line and into the eager hands of enthusiasts. Despite being 55 pounds heavier than its predecessor, the 512TR's additional 41 horsepower get it to 60 miles per hour, a whopping 1.5 seconds quicker. The difference through the standing quarter mile is even more impressive, 12.9 seconds versus 14.5, earning it top spot among this bunch of sports cars. Though its tail can be provoked into oversteer, the 512TR prefers gentle understeer. and exhibits a docility that belies its rear-heavy weight distribution. The unassisted steering, though very precise, can be heavy in low-speed turns. Italian style, beauty, speed, comfort, exclusivity. The Ferrari 512 TR has it in droves. Able to play the roles of high-speed Grand Tourer or sports car equally well, this Ferrari is not at all nervous or high-strung. Its 421 horsepower flat 12 is the epitome of tractability. And one look at those huge body-side ducts lined with the strakes that have graced the Testarossa since 1984 make its mid-engine configuration readily apparent. Besides making some of the most glorious mechanical noises on Earth, the 512 TR's all-aluminum flat 12 is a thing of beauty, with intake castings that could be displayed at the Louvre. Compared with the Testarossa it replaces, the 512 TR has 10% more power, larger 18-inch wheels and tires, a stiffer tubular frame, more precise steering, an improved braking system, and a redesigned interior. Arguably the most victorious and longest-lasting competitor in automobile racing history, the Ferrari marque owes its success to Enzo Ferrari, the Modenese-born son of a metal shop worker. Along with a small group of close colleagues and talented engineers, Enzo produced sports racing cars that were as beautiful as they were fast. Since the marque's inception in 1947, a prancing black horse on a yellow background has been Ferrari's emblem. It was once the symbol of World War I flying ace Francesco Baracca. After he was shot down, his parents sent Ferrari a piece of the plane's fabric bearing the symbol, wishing for him to adopt it in recognition of his similar competitive spirit. The Earth With its all-wheel drive system configured to drive the front wheels only when the rears start spinning, the Diablo VT retains its rear drive character, but with an extra margin of stability. Although aggressive use of throttle can still bring the tail out, power oversteer is much milder than the standard Diablo, and power can be put down sooner. With the capability of accelerating to 60 miles per hour in less than 5 seconds and attaining the fastest top speed of the group at just over 200 miles per hour, the Diablo VT is a formidable presence on either road or track. A direct descendant of the sharp-edged Countach that practically coined the term exotic, the Lamborghini Diablo retains the mid-mounted 4-cam V12, swing-up doors, and all the excitement of the original in a more rounded, smoothed-over form. Look closely and you'll see slightly larger engine air intakes and brake ducts that are the distinguishing marks of the VT, the all-wheel drive version of the Diablo. Never before has a Lamborghini put its power to the ground so efficiently. All-wheel drive that incorporates a mid-mounted viscous coupling helps put the VT's monstrous 492 horsepower to the ground. Chassis construction is similar to the Ferraris with a tubular space frame, but aluminum alloy body panels are augmented by a steel roof and strategically placed panels of carbon fiber. Unlike the high-pitched scream of the 512 TR's engine, the Diablo's all-alloy 48-valve V12 resonates with a deep brassiness. Think of a dozen trombones. The roots of the Lamborghini Diablo go back to a small factory in Cento, Italy, where a mechanic turned industrialist started his career building tractors under the Lamborghini family name. Ferruccio Lamborghini's passion for exotic cars eventually changed the focus of his mechanical and entrepreneurial energies. And in 1964, the first Lamborghini production car was brought to market. Called the 350 GT, its hood emblem depicted a charging bull, a reference to Ferruccio Lamborghini's astrological sign of Taurus. The Miura P400, a V12-powered sports car named after a Spanish breed of fighting bull, sent other manufacturers back to the drawing board with its mid-engine design. Although well-received and often cited as the most beautiful Lamborghini ever designed, the Miura was replaced by the Countach in the mid-70s. Despite a difficult gestation period, the Countach became one of the most highly revered and sought-after true exotics. It then evolved, with basic configuration intact, into the more modern-looking and aerodynamically efficient Diablo. Wheel hop off the line hinders drag strip starts, but once underway, the RX-7 is explosively fast. The transition from primary to secondary turbo operation is hardly noticeable. Handling is extremely responsive, and with 0.94 G of lateral grip and only slight body roll, the RX-7 is second only to the Viper in its race car-like feel. Stopping is equally impressive, with 11.6-inch rotors front and rear, although this ABS-assisted sports car doesn't quite achieve the braking brilliance of the NSX or Porsche. Lightweight, powerful, and shapely, the RX-7 is a driver's car that's also a treat for the eyes. The world's only Wankel-powered sports car boasts 255 horsepower and a curb weight of just 2,850 pounds, making it the lightest of the group. This power-to-weight ratio generates forceful acceleration and an extremely nimble handling feel. The RX-7's cockpit wraps tightly around two occupants, with room under the rear hatch for just a weekend's worth of luggage. At the RX-7's heart is a two-rotor, 255-horsepower Wankel engine, fortified by a twin turbocharger system that transitions from primary to secondary turbo at about 4,500 RPM. The RX-7's unit body is of steel, with an aluminum hood and minimized glass area for weight reduction. Further use of aluminum is found in the links of the RX-7's four-wheel independent suspension to lower unsprung weight for improved handling. Mazda's introduction of the RX-7 in 1978 was thought by many to be the most significant new sports car since the Datsun 240Z. It was a high-quality, affordable sports car with good performance, reasonable fuel economy, exciting styling, and for a two-seater, generous interior room. It was also the only sports car sold in the North American market powered by a rotary engine. The RX-7's twin-rotor Wankel engine has remained essentially unchanged over the years, except for increases in power and the addition of turbochargers. The 1986 through 1992 cars received semi-trailing arm independent rear suspension and a body style criticized for looking too similar to a Porsche 944. However, a radical redesign was delivered by Mazda in 1993 with an entirely new chassis, with the emphasis placed on lightweight and agile handling. Perhaps one of the most attractive cars on the road today, the new RX-7 is considered by many to be an affordable exotic, without the penalties of temperament and price associated with other such cars. From the tranquility of suburbia, the of the urban jungle, this route opens up with gentle freeway and winds its way into the bowels of the city's underground. Roads snaking everywhere, underpasses, overpasses, concrete barriers, long winding tunnels. It's all here for you. But watch out for other cars. They come up real quick when you're at speeds these cars want to travel. Ah, the smell of the ocean. This route starts a meandering run along the coast, winds its way up and along some crags, inland through some tight forested road, and then back down along a narrow peninsula. It's a well-rounded drive with a couple of nice straightaways and a healthy portion of squirrely corners. Go ahead, use that lead foot, but keep a tight grip on the wheel. Strap on your lederhosen for this one. It's a trek through Alpine country. Starting with an ascent on some wide forested road, you'll soon find the air thinning and the road narrowing. Expect a lot of cliffs, tunnels, and tight road. Passing gets tough on winding single-lane roads, so you'll need to get creative if you want to clock some quick times here. The desert heat has taken its toll on this old decrepit raceway. Loose gravel at the sides of the track can send the tail end out of control. If you want quick laps and fast speeds, this is where you'll get them. But remember, the only thing separating you from the finish line is the wall at turn 4. This closed-circuit speedway is a little bit different from the open road courses in that you'll get a chance to learn every inch of track intimately as you power through each lap. The high bank turns make for intense metal-on-metal racing. The challenge is to consistently pick the best line if you want to bring in the best time. Back during the gold rush, this used to be a thriving mining region. But with the gold gone, all that remains are a decaying ghost town, dilapidated mine shaft, and dark, dank caverns. Don't spend too much time reflecting on the glory days, as sudden twists and turns will immortalize you in this town's eerie legends. The beautiful scenery on this course can be distracting, and disastrous if you take your eyes off the road too long to savor the sights. Originally a quiet coastal drive, this stretch of road has been transformed into a high-speed closed-circuit twister. Picking up speed in the back straight is tempting, but with perilous cliff-top turns coming to greet you at 100+ miles per hour, you better have good reflexes. Urban sprawl and overcrowding can often make for slow, monotonous traffic. But take away the traffic and you've got a high-speed obstacle course that's enough to challenge even the best drivers. Set in the industrial sector, this course gives you everything from blasting through a steel foundry to squealing through the airport's underground parking lot. Trust me, city engineers didn't plan for this to be used as a racetrack, so you'll be contending with some pretty insane corners. And when you leave the ground, it won't be from the airport. From the tranquility of suburbia to the pandemonium of the urban... The desert heat has taken its toll on this old decrepit raceway. Congratulations! You've got a top 10 time for this track. This closed circuit speedway is a little... Congratulations! You've got a top 10 time for this track.